On Friday, March 5th, 2003, everything changed. It was almost 7 o'clock when the phone rang. I know because prime time was just about to start. And I was getting ready to relax after a particularly busy day. It was Chris. He had left his Bible in his locker on accident and didn't want to go the entire weekend without it. His mom was at work and he needed me to pick him up and take him to school. I was slightly irritated, but I decided to pick him up anyway. When we got to school, I stayed outside as he ran in to get his Bible. I didn't feel like moving, so I sat on the bench just outside the doors. I waited there for an exceptionally long time. It was particularly cold, and I didn't have a jacket. The freezing air stabbed at my skin like a million needles penetrating through to the center of my bones. I was just getting up to wait in the warmth of my car when I heard a piercing cry. I rushed into the school to investigate. The main hallway was always black, other than a light on the front door. The only light in the school was the other end of the hallway where it peeked out of the girls' bathroom. Just then Luke and 4 of his clonies sprinted out of the bathroom. So that's where the scream came from, immature perverts, I thought to myself. They disappeared into the darkness momentarily until emerging into the light at the end of the hall. They didn't seem to notice me as they brushed past. One even collided into my shoulder, his sweat-drenched shirt wiped against my arm. Their faces were as white as paper. I turned around to watch them race out the door. The entryway light must have caught it just right, because it was the quick flash that drew my eyes to the knife. I saw blood. Oh, God. I thought, what just happened here? I took off towards the bathroom, brain spinning. Our school is not big, and the full length of that hallway couldn't have been more than 50 meters long, but the run through the shadows seemed like an eternity. A sharp chill ran down my spine, and at that moment I was colder than I had ever been outside. Hysterical, heaving sobs began to echo into the empty hall, the wailing of a ghost. Then a thunderous pounding resounding in my ears. It's chasing me. Slowly I realized that the cries were coming from the bathroom and the pounding was my heart. Finally I emerged into the light. At my feet a trail of blood droplets led into the bathroom. I followed in to find Rachel, Luke's girlfriend. There she sat against the wall hugging her knees, her clothes rustled and cheeks tear-stained. Not a drop of blood on her. The trail of blood went right past her, the droplets closer and closer to each other till they formed a solid, dark red line to the shadowy corner beneath the sink. Curled up as to stay completely hidden in the shadow laid Chris. A pool of blood amassing beneath his gut. I fell onto my knees, before him, landing in the thick, sticky blood. The sink above him dripped loudly, each splash counting down the seconds he had left to live. I knelt there blankly listening to the dripping. The interval between each drop seemed to take progressively longer. The only thing that mattered to me at that moment was that the dripping did not stop. He stabbed him, broke Rachel hysterically. He came in and his buddies grabbed me and he started to I screamed as loud as I could. And then he came in, she pointed at Chris, and screamed something and I tried to throw them off and then they all turned to him and started pushing him down. And he kept getting up and muttering WWJD or something again and again. And then Luke screamed, "Hey, Zuce!" And then I stabbed him. It was as if I woke up from a dream. I was sweating now. Hot and clammy, like the dream I just woke up from was of much tossing and turning under a heavy blanket. Fiery rage welled up inside of me. Chris was 1,000 times the man Luke was. How dare he do such a thing? He will pay. Then horror overcame me. Was Chris dead? He couldn't be. No way. He's so young. It can't be his time yet. There was a loud yelp behind me. Miss Thornton rushed in front of me, kneeling in front of Chris. "You can't have him, angel of death," I screamed loudly inside my head. Then she was gone. The next thing I remember is the blaring sirens repeating incessantly in sync with the flashing lights as Chris was carried off into the ambulance on a stretcher. It was past noon when I woke up the next day. When I finally gathered myself and remembered what had happened the night before, I got dressed and left for the hospital. His mother was already there. She wasn't crying, but by the dried tears, you could tell that she had been. When she saw me, she thanked me for being the only true friend her son ever had, and then burst into tears. I cried too. She was wrong. I was no true friend, and it stung. We both sat there and cried until the nurse came out and told us that we could see him. But he wasn't conscious. His mom knelt down beside him and clenched his hand. I just stood there staring. Many people showed up with cards or flowers. Rachel was one of them. Besides Chris's mom and me, she stayed the longest. The nurse made us leave around 6 o'clock. She said she'd call us as soon as he was conscious and stable enough to have guests. Sunday morning I woke up, set the cordless phone next to my chair, turned on the television, and blankly stared at the TV screen the entire day waiting for a phone call. Nothing happened. Monday. As soon as school was over, I rushed home to check the voicemail. There was one message. It was from Miss Zuce. She sounded upset. After uncovering something in her records, the hospital had declined any more financial aid after Friday the 12th. She wouldn't tell me what it was they found, and I never did find out. Anyway, she didn't know why she was worried. She had a very strong case to sue Luke or his family for the money to pay for the medical expenses. About an hour later, I finally got a call from the hospital. I lived closer to the hospital than Miss Zuce did, so I arrived there first. When she arrived, we went into the room to see Chris. He was awake. After a while, we eventually got around to the topic of suing Luke. To both our surprise, Chris was dead set against it.
No. WWJD. Remember? What would Jesus do? Jesus forgave me for all my baddest sins. And you said to do what Jesus would do. I want to forgive Luke like Jesus forgave me. Please, don't sue him. Please. WWJD.
To my astonishment, Miss Zuce actually agreed to Chris's wishes. I guess she understood exactly how much Chris wanted it to be that way and decided to grant him his wish. I think she still had hope that she would be able to raise money somehow.